is your sound. This is the sound of Universal Broadcasting Network at UPNradio.com.
Hey, everybody. It is Wednesday, February 25th. I'm Emerson Collins.
And I'm Del Shores.
And you're listening to
the Del and Emerson Show. Straight talk.
Real gay! It was a little orgasmic today. Hey, Del Shores.
Hey, Emerson Collins.
How are you?
And the winner is... Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes. You guys, there's a lot to talk about. We're going to dive right in with the Oscars.
Oh, they were so interesting.
They were a lot of things.
There were a lot. There
Well,
was so much I loved.
They just finished like 5 minutes ago.
I just got up to get a snack. I was going to let the commercials go through so I could catch up.
That's perfect. Disclaimer before we get into the specifics of the show, I will say the concept of the Oscars is insane. Like, you have to give out 20 some odd awards. Only 6 of them or so can be won by genuinely famous people that the viewing public will watch.
Right.
And yet you have to give out all these awards. So there's all of this content that has to be included. So to the producers that have to pull this off every year, my hat is off because it's an impossible ship to sail.
And I have to applaud them for not doing like many of the other award shows where some of the technical awards are given off camera and they just give a big list, or they're like the Emmys, they do it a day before or something. And I like that there are these people that make our movies wonderful that get to say speeches. Sometimes I think they may need a little coaching on the speech.
Yeah, but sometimes it's the anonymous people that you don't know that give the funniest speeches. That guy from Poland had me rolling on the floor.
Was he the one that just wouldn't shut up? Like,
yes.
He said that he's just refusing to go.
Like, I'm naming all these people.
I'm here.
Yes.
It's like if you did that and there was a commercial coming up, you couldn't get away with it. But he sort of knew there's no commercial. I've got the mic. I'm going forward here.
This is my moment. I am going to take it.
So what?
Well, let's start at the beginning.
All right.
I loved the opening.
I loved the opening too.
I thought it was funny. I thought the graphic effects of what they did on the screen with his shadow mimicking famous movie scenes was absolutely exquisite.
Crazy. It's like I go, wow, that is a lot of work. And if anything went wrong, it would go. It didn't.
Yeah.
It was just, it hit.
I did think they could have gone even further and got that troupe of dancers from America's Got Talent that makes, like the skylines and everything, and had them back there making like other backdrops. But that's just me.
Oh, well, you need to be on board next year as one of the
Oh,
consultants.
no, I couldn't. I can't even imagine what it takes. I mean, literally the geniuses behind the show, Craig Zaden and Neil Marin, who do the live shows
Right.
and have done everything in the world, and Greg Berlanti, who has
And
17
have
TV
Oscars.
shows on television to put this all together. And Anna Kendrick, I love her. I have loved her. Have you ever seen the movie Camp?
Yes.
Okay, when Anna Kendrick, I watched that like musical theater camp, like the nerdiest of theater nerd movies, when she sabotages that girl and then she walks onto the stage and says, "She's fucked, I'm ready, and the goddamn show must go on." It's one of my favorite lines in all of cinema.
It sort of was her star-making moment. I adore her too, and they were great together. And Neil Patrick Harris got a lot of flack on the Twitter and on the internet, and everybody and on the Twitter and the gays are gnashing their teeth. We have a gnashing of teeth here. We may need a gay gnashing of teeth because they're just always throwing one of ours under the bus. Just I hated him.
Well,
hated him.
let's be honest. It falls into that thing of that we continue to eat our own, and we can't think that anybody is better than us.
There was a lot of people that weren't just in the gay community saying he's so full of himself. And I thought, well, okay, rightfully so. But I have to say, I watched his Actor Studio interview recently, and I didn't find that at all. I found that he was very gracious and very generous, and I've never heard a bad thing about him in a work situation.
Well, I don't read that at all. I think it's that same sort of smug hosty thing that Bob Hope did so famously, that Billy Crystal does. I mean, I think there were parts that he was a little nervous because when he hosts the Tonys and the Emmys, those people excuse me, are genuinely his peers.
Right.
And really, these aren't.
And come on, to go on stage in your underwear, it's brave.
I applaud. In front of a billion people.
He looked amazing.
If he and that husband ever break up, he should use that as his Grindr photo because it's like the greatest picture of all time.
Do you have it up, John? Yes, I gave it to John to share with our audience.
That Neil Patrick Harris is in the category with me where he qualifies, I think, as a twunk, right? Like he's too old to be a twink anymore, but he's not hairy enough to be an otter.
Right, and I guess he's kept a lot of that weight off from Hedwig because on the Actor Studio it said he lost 21 pounds to do Hedwig, so he would have a more female body. And
I feel like you'd lose 21 pounds doing it. I mean, that's a hard show.
Yeah.
Well, he works really hard, and no, it definitely didn't
And I
all
loved
work.
him. I did love him. I mean, I liked his quips. I liked when he explained to Oprah, because you're so rich. I thought that was a great first moment for him of getting, well, I mean, in the white comment at the very beginning.
Yes, they're straight out of the gate. Let's talk about it. We're not running away from it. I think he's smart. You know, all jokes from anybody don't always land. The magic box did not work.
No, it did not. Even
Because-
with Octavia there,
Because
it did not
just
work.
as a magic trick, we, the viewing audience, can't see that it didn't move all night long.
Right.
You know, so like, oh yeah, you can watch the live stream on ABC, but nobody did that.
We just had to trust
so
that
you
Octavia.
just had to buy it, and so that and 3 hours and 15 minutes in, it just didn't pay off. The jokes inside it were kind of funny, but the whole idea is like, it never moved, and how are all these? How did you get it in there? It's magic. But
So, what were some of the other favorite moments for you? I mean, let's just go with Gaga first of all.
Yes.
I mean, come on, that was flawless, wonderful. You know.
Well, I have always said, for me personally, that it's all about the music. I think that when you find those really old YouTube clips of Stephanie in underground clubs in New York with her black hair playing at a piano, that's the real girl, the real musician, and all of the rest of it is to get the attention so that people listen to the music.
Well,
And
we're gonna see a lot of diversity in her career. We saw the big announcement that she's the first cast member of the new American Horror Story for Hotel. So I'm excited about that. I'm a big fan of that show.
she should fit nicely in there. Although it'll be funny. I want to see how many of their song lyrics they can work into the show. Like, is she going to be the receptionist and singing about telephone, or is she going to be got some problem and say she was born this way, or maybe she's the rich daughter of like a wealthy family and she lives in the penthouse and she's out on the balcony saying, "I'm on the edge of glory and I want to marry
Is she
the
going to be
night."
a killer, or is she going to be killed? I mean, what? It's just so. I want you to tell our audience what you just tweeted.
Wait, I'm not done about the Oscars.
Oh,
yeah?
I was going to do a sidetrack thing and return to the Oscars.
Oh, okay.
Because it's all about Gaga for a second.
Right. Madonna fell at the Brit Awards quite hardly. She was yanked by the back of a cape that she was wearing, but she got up, seemed a little shaken, and then managed to finish the song. So apparently she's fine. So all I said about it was, wow, Lady Gaga is having such a big day. Since they have all that nonsense between them back and forth about their songs.
And Emerson said he wasn't an asshole last week.
But specifically about her Oscar performance, the bravery of taking on such iconic music, so different from her own music anyway. It goes to the thing of, I wish that her next album would just be called Songs from Stephanie, and it would be her with her real hair color and no makeup and just sitting at the piano playing songs, because she is an exquisite talent, and that sort of reminded the whole world that outside of the meat dresses, it's really that she's a phenomenal artist.
She is. She can sing. And back to us going to negative though, and I think internet has really given permission for so many people to be, critics and mean and mean spirited. And I wrote about my favorite moments on Facebook, and someone said, and I mentioned Gaga, and he goes, "Yeah, but that last note," and I'm like, "That's what you start with." That's what you start with, that last note, and I had to go back and see, and it wasn't perfect as she slid right into it, but Jesus fucking God, she was brilliant.
It's an Oscar tradition. It happened to Adina last year. It's, we don't kill the last notes.
One of my favorite moments, by the way,
stupid.
was John and Adina presenting together. I just loved it. You didn't love it?
Yes, but he made it worse. Like, they went out there to fix this problem from last year, and then he pawed at her like he was some boy at the gym at 3 o'clock in the morning.
It was almost like he had Tourette's. I had this friend one time who had, his name was Dash, and he was straight, and he had this Tourette's problem, and part of it was he would just touch your face while he was talking to him. I loved it, but that's what it felt a little bit like to me, like he had a little bit of Tourette's going on.
But the silver lining to it is, the more it happens, Idina Menzel just gets more and more famous, and that is not a bad thing in my book.
Yeah. Okay, other moments. Well, let's talk about our predictions. We did really well. I mean, I did everything. I missed Best Picture. I said Boyhood was going to win, and I also missed Michael Keaton, and I was thrilled that Eddie won.
I had no issues with any of the winners.
He was wonderful in that movie. I loved Julianne Moore's winning. I've loved her for years. Graham Moore, let's stick with the Moores. I loved Graham Moore's acceptance speech. I thought it was brilliant. Everybody thought he was gay, and he's not.
Yeah, it was real awkward, because then he had to do interviews all the next day, just basically saying, "No, I'm not gay."
I'm not gay.
Which was interesting. I will be honest that it provided a little bit of insight. I thought the speech was nice. I think that him talking about the depression that he's experienced was very brave, and I think it's great for kids to hear stuff like that. But it does make interesting the whole issue that many people had with the Imitation Game of not going into the end of his story and the impact of the trial and the treatment that he underwent instead of going to prison for homosexuality. That as a straight man telling that story that he made that decision makes it a little more interesting to me.
Well, it's not always just the writer's decision, as we know. I mean, he probably was noted to death. The studio was involved.
He wrote a big old script and submitted it. Like, I
Well,
think if they said we're going to change
absolutely.
half of your screenplay, like, then it's a different screenplay.
Right,
He
but-
has not implied at any point that that wasn't the story he wanted
Well,
to
he
tell.
won an Oscar. He's not going to bash anybody who said. I mean, the director had to be involved. The editing. Who knows? But I agree with you. I think that was so truncated in the movie, and in that, I still loved that movie very much, and I thought that I did vote for that with the Writers Guild. I did vote for that screenplay. Okay, what did you think of Patricia Arquette's ending to her speech? There's been some controversy about that as well.
I thought the ending to the live speech was absolutely amazing, calling for equal pay for women. I hugely applaud people who take the 45 seconds that they have in front of a billion people to talk about something that matters to them.
And
the bigger issue for many people is that she continued on in the press room backstage,
Yes.
and she ended that section saying, and now we need people of color and gay people to support us the way we have supported them. And a lot of people have taken that. There's a lot of conflict in feminism between white women and women of color, and then sort of implying that the fights for these other groups are over, or that there aren't people that fall into multiple categories.
Because we still don't have the rights that she does have.
Right.
In many states.
But I applaud her passion, and I do think it's good for people to call out, that the way there were implications to what she said that are worth talking about and are important within minorities. I do think it's likely that she just spoke inelegantly, but I don't think that we should avoid saying, like, what you implied is this, and let's remember that it's important to represent as many people as possible in minority circles.
I loved her cheerleaders. I loved Meryl and J-Lo just going nuts. I
Yes.
just thought that was that cut too.
I was dying to know what the two of them were talking about in commercial breaks. I could have watched one whole camera that just said on the two of them.
I think Meryl said nice tits.
Yeah.
or I love that dress. I could never carry it off. But
not pull that
you
off.
you look great, darling. Other quick moments I love. Jennifer Hudson always does. I loved bringing out Julie, who has had the best work I've ever seen in my life. Julie Andrews and Shirley MacLaine's outfit, and they're both in their 80s.
Shirley MacLaine wears her crazy so well, doesn't she?
I love her.
Nutbag.
Wasn't as nutty as Debbie Reynolds at the SAG Awards.
Well, no, I mean nutbag in general. Stop! You're kicking my camera.
Oh, is that what I'm doing?
Dale's trying to kick me off the show, y'all.
I'm so sorry.
It's in studio.
It's that little sabotage.
All those
I'm
behind the
just like,
scene tensions that some of
don't-
y'all get so worried about
when
when
you
we
look
snip
away,
at each
I do
other.
this a
Yeah, he
lot.
just waves and it goes out of focus. I look
could do it
suddenly.
right there in
I
front
look
of me,
like I've
too.
got that Barbara Walters filter on.
All right.
But
Is
other things that I really loved, I thought the sets were exquisite. I thought that the score was hysterically amazing. It was like the gayest underscoring. It was like all Whitney Houston and musical. Stephen Aramis, who was conducting the orchestra.
It was so gay.
So gay. And I loved the in memoriam, the sort of the pencil drawings. I thought it was really lovely and simple.
There was dissension about that in my home where people were watching. My friend McGee did not like that, and
I don't care.
I didn't like the Robin Williams one. He didn't look like him. But other than that, let's go to Miss Joan Rivers. Everybody's very upset that she wasn't mentioned.
Not everybody.
You're not.
I think that she had an enormous impact on the red carpet, but the red carpet is something that the TV networks do. The Academy doesn't run that, and that's a part of the commercial process. And I think she is one of the biggest stars in the history of television, and she had a huge impact on that. But the film work, and people are like, she was in 12 movies. She directed a movie, a really long time ago, but it was played herself in a bunch of stuff. I think she should have been included, sure, but I think it was way more remiss to not include people like Taylor Negron or Elaine Stritch that really had a greater body of film work.
Yes,
I understand their frustration.
They weren't mentioned a lot in the omissions where people said they were omitted. And I would have liked to have seen Taylor and Elaine Stritch there as well. I wanted her there. I thought she should have been there, and I love her and I miss her, and I miss her on the red carpet. It's not as good anymore.
It isn't. All right, we got to move on.
Okay.
We are going to be cutting so many stories. Also, it's important to remember that at Oscar time, they also do the Razzies, which award the worst movies in film. And this year, one of our personal favorites was the big, clear winner. Kirk Cameron, Saving Christmas, won 4 Razzie Awards.
Worst picture, worst actor, worst screenplay, and
my favorite, yes. The worst on-screen combo was Kirk Cameron and his ego. I think that's hysterical. So, congratulations, Kirk.
So, Emerson, you are prepping wildly for...
Let's skip this for today. We'll do it next week.
Well, but let's at least talk about it for a second. You're doing buyer and seller in Palm Springs. Tickets are on sale, and you're doing your prep work. And I think that we put that picture up, yes, so that our fans can see, especially our Palm Springs.
Yes, so
go see Emerson.
Every week I'm going to do my buyer and seller Barbara update. This week I watched A Star Is Born, which I had never seen before. I've never seen the Judy version either. And Barbara was wonderful in it, but I was actually truly obsessed with Chris Christopherson in that movie. Like, he was amazing. She was fantastic. The Evergreen, the performances are amazing.
Watch closely now.
But she plays a girl growing to be a star. So I was like, of course she did. That makes sense to me. But I just couldn't get over him. And then the other
was so beautiful in that movie. He was so gorgeous.
Big thing that I watched was the Rosie O'Donnell full-hour special that Rosie did on when she was doing the Rosie Show, which I loved. I love her so much, and what she did promoting theater like no talk show host ever has. She did a full episode interview with Barbra Streisand, and she opens the interview with, on her desk, she's got all of her Barbra Streisand memorabilia. She's got 8 tracks
such a
and tiny little records and all the magnets off her TV. And I thought she was overselling it a little bit. I thought she was just being I'm a huge fan, but she's a huge fan. But Rosie's met all kinds of celebrities. Barbara comes out and Rosie starts to cry. I was like, oh my gosh. She was so for real, super fan. And she was as in my dark childhood, you were, a big voice in it for me. And they proceeded to have the most hilarious, hour-long kiki about all things Barbara. It was very interesting.
Well, I'm excited for you, and for all of you who do not know that show, it is a one person on stage for 90 minutes. So, wow. So
memorizing the script, and I have 34 pages of 60 sort of rough memorized. So we are cranking along. So I will give you an update on my all things I'm learning in Barbara Land as we move towards the show. All right,
a quality update. We've got some stuff going on still.
It seems like Texas is trying to compete to be the next Alabama. They're getting a little jealous of all the attention Roy Moore has been getting. So last week, 2 women were actually granted the first marriage license in Texas. Sarah Goodfriend and Suzanne Bryant were denied a license 8 years ago, and Goodfriend had been diagnosed with ovarian cancer and sued that not being married was causing them significant harm. A judge agreed, given the urgency of their circumstances, and granted them a license. However, the Texas Supreme Court immediately issued stays stopping both current marriage-related orders against the Texas constitutional amendment, and Governor Greg Abbott, Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, and Attorney General Ken Paxton all want to take their license away. Paxton has declared that it's void, that the couple is not actually married. The attorney generals have a lot of authority, but not quite that usually. So Texas is kicking.
So are
and
they married or not?
Fighting. They are
They're
still
still
right now,
married.
but he's trying to undo it.
She's got ovarian cancer. You're just a bunch of assholes. They're just assholes. That's incidental in a way, but come on. It's just the reason they filed this lawsuit is the urgency, and then they continue to act like this. It's just such horse shit.
Well, and it only gets worse. Texas has also introduced its version of a trans bathroom bill that would make it a felony for building owners that repeatedly allow individuals over age 7 to use a restroom that doesn't match their gender, up to 2 years in prison. And it would make it a misdemeanor for a person over the age of 13 to use a restroom that doesn't match their gender. And they defined gender in the bill based on the sex assigned at birth or the chromosomes. And I don't know, what are we going to do? Have DNA stations outside of restrooms that you have to that's the ludicrousness of all of this.
It is really ridiculous because how are they going to enforce anything? It's just a waste of fucking time.
Yeah. And of course, and now a Tea Party representative has also introduced a bill just like the one that we talked about last week that did go into effect in Arkansas to limit all equal rights ordinances to whatever the state law is. And this is really important because as we win with marriage equality, conservatives are working really hard to find workarounds, to find other ways to limit our rights. And so this hasn't been brought to the floor yet, and it's extremely broad and likely will not pass in its current form. But if it did, it would get rid of the LGBT protections for 7.5 million Texans, like the one that they fought for so hard in Houston last year. So these are really a big deal, and we do sort of have to be vigilant because people, as these laws pass, the one in Arkansas will probably be ruled unconstitutional at some point. But that means that somebody has to file a lawsuit. Lawyers have to be paid. So we have to be vigilant as it's happening. So remember to donate to the organizations that will be fighting the lawsuits to overturn the laws.
And you know, write those letters. We're going to talk about a letter that made a big splash on the internet this week. So
yes.
Yeah. And some good news.
Yes.
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 Is this me or
yes.
you?
The State Department appointed a new LGBT envoy, which is really exciting. It's the first time it has existed. Randy Berry has been named the U.S.'s first special envoy for the human rights of LGBT persons around the world. So that's really exciting. And also, he might have a lot of work to do here at home, but this will work on a lot of the situations that we often talk about in other parts of the world, in Uganda and Russia, etc. So congratulations, Mr. Berry. We look forward to seeing your work.
And I sent Emerson, you know, this next story. Who's gnashing their teeth?
Who?
Well,
Who is?
Every week, I'm on the American Family Association's mailing list. I don't know how I got there, but I continue to write them every single time and say, well, this is stupid, and Del Shore's a cocksucker or whatever. I just signed my name. They never take me off the list. But so this week I got their bigotry map, and put that up, John, so everybody could see the bigotry map. It includes an interactive map that identifies groups whose actions are deeply intolerant of the Christian religion. Their actions have endorsed efforts to silence Christians and to remove all public displays of Christian heritage and faith in America. Now, Emerson feels like they've cheated on this map.
Yes, first of all, it's hysterical.
Would you say yes again?
Yes! It's ridiculous. They created this interactive map to label all the bigots out there. They use rainbows for homosexual agenda.
Which are very pretty.
Red crosses for anti-Christian, and also included atheist or humanist. And there's 200 dots on this map. Well, it's like 40 HRC offices, 8 GLSEN offices, American United that works for the separation of church and state, the ACLU, and the Southern Poverty Law Center. There's like 8 groups. It's like 20 dots on the map, but they didn't even work that hard.
They did not. And there's so many other people they could have gone after.
So many. I mean, they could have put your house on the map. They should have.
And this radio station, it's right here. We could have just
have a roving dot for my Twitter account wherever I am.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, there's so many other American Family American Equality, Family Equality, and so many organizations.
We worked so hard when we called them bigots. The least they could do is work hard when they call us.
So anyway, they don't. The 4 that they went after though were the Human Rights Campaign, the Southern Poverty Law Center, GLSEN, and the Freedom from Religious Foundation. So we're going to give them all a shout out. We love you all.
We do.
All 4 of you, and got you some publicity here from the American Family Association.
All right, and the gnashing continues. In Washington, state judge ruled that a 70-year-old Christian florist, Baronelle Stutzman, must provide full support for wedding ceremonies that are contrary to her faith. She's one of those people who refused to provide flowers for a same-sex wedding based on her faith. Her quote about it, she said, "I just put my hands on his and told him because of my relationship with Jesus Christ, I couldn't do that. I couldn't do his wedding."
But she touched him. That was so nice that she touched him.
I know. That's sweet. I guess we move forward from the Anita Baker days slightly. But it's a business, and I continuously go back to, I know I've said it here, but I'm going to keep saying it. I guarantee you that she doesn't ask people if they've been divorced before, or if they lived together before they got married, or if they had a baby out of wedlock. So You're just picking the one obvious sin.
Right.
If there was a questionnaire you had to fill out, and it had all of the things, have you had premarital sex? Have you done this? If you had to check a yes on all of those before they would do your wedding, I would at least think that was consistent.
Absolutely.
But they don't.
No, and she, let's just point out, I mean, you know, as my daughter Caroline Shores once said, Daddy, they're all going to die. She's 70 years old. So this bigot
faster than some.
This bigot will be gone in 20 years.
But, of course, the American Family Association had to jump out in support, and they put out an email blast that said, in essence, a judge has told the Christian florist she is entitled to her beliefs, but not to act on them. My counter to that, before I even finish this thought, is I guarantee you if somebody was trying to run their business according to Sharia law from the Islam faith, that they would have something to say about that.
Well, I have something to say too. Fuck you. American Family Association. That's what I have to say. I'm so much more eloquent.
But they asked all of their people to take action. They said Barronelle Stutzman needs to know fellow Christians are standing with her and praying for her. AFA has prepared this letter of prayer support for Barronelle. I encourage you to sign the letter to Barronelle and let her know she is not sharing the burden alone. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that this woman doesn't need prayers as much as she needs money.
She needs a GoFundMe.
So y'all need to pass an offering plate. I feel like at this point that would do a lot more than prayer.
So that she can support her bigotry through some funds. All right, so flashing through the gay news.
Yes, what's up first?
Well, the billboard that we've talked about before is back in the news. In Richmond, Virginia, the parents and friends of ex-gays and gays put up a billboard that was very controversial because they said that one twin was born gay and one twin was not born gay, and it turned out that it was just the same model that they just redressed and did like, Barbie doll kind of paper doll things on him. And this guy happened to be gay that they put up there. So he, with this organization, Planting Peace, they teamed up with Kyle Rourke, I think is the way you say it, to put up a billboard on the same stretch, just one exit down, same format, and it said, "Dear PFOX, identical twins, I'm not, I'm gay, I was born gay, and I'm proud of who I am." And he said, "I am pleased to have the opportunity of working with Planting Peace, not in retaliation, but in promoting a strong and positive message to the LGBTQ community and in counteracting PFOX's damaging misconception." It's going to be up for a month, but it could be up longer. If you want to give to it, it's www.crowdrise.com/billboard response. And so that
you probably just go to plantingpeace.com and there'd probably be a link to it if that was hard.
Okay.
All right, flashing on.
All right, what else? Oh, we have some prison news.
Okay, this is a weird story. The first gay prison marriage is happening in the UK, which is like, yay, like equal rights. Like people can get married in prison, so gay people in prison should be able to get married too. Except the reason these two gay men are in prison is really horrible. Like they're really supposed to be there. One was a convicted pedophile who murdered a lover while he was under police surveillance at age 23. He's been in prison for 17 years. The other one was the leader of a 3-strong gang who roamed the countryside looking for homosexuals to beat up and killed a 57-year-old man in a gay bashing. So
now he's changed his tune and he's gay.
Yeah, well, it's
which
that
proves
thing you
the
said.
point. Well, it's not just me saying it; it's scientific. I mean, they have proven that many homophobes are homosexuals.
Scientific? Is there a study?
Well, but it's not a science.
I'm just giving
is
you a
that
hard
science?
time.
Is that science?
I think there's a good deal of empirical evidence, but I don't know that there's been like a scientific study.
Well, they have done studies on it. They have done studies. Absolutely. I've posted many times about it where there are literally studies where there are those people who claim to be homophobic, and then when they do tests on them, it shows that they are attracted to same sex.
Well, there you go. We'll look that up and we'll share it on our Facebook
page. Somewhere in Canada they did this.
So I guess yay for these guys that they can get married because it shows you that marriage is, it also shows you that there are awful gay people just like there are awful straight people.
It's hard to embrace that marriage.
So we're
I don't
cheering
think that's
for
the
theory, not so much them.
It's not a step in the positive direction for the gays on this one.
So that's awkward.
So we have the celibacy challenge. Yes.
So we've talked a lot about on the show several times about the FDA regulations of the ability of men who have sex with men to donate blood. The FDA is still considering their final recommendations on the idea that now men who have sex with men will be able to donate blood if they have not had sex for a year. So that's better than it was. But GLAAD and the GMHC have put together a hilariously satirical ad campaign featuring the phenomenally talented Alan Cumming, challenging everyone to remain celibate for a year so that you can donate blood.
It's hysterical. You have to see it, guys.
You can go to celibacychallenge.com. You should watch the video because then Alan gives you a whole series of activities that you can do to pass the time while you're not having sex for a year, and they are visually hysterical.
And the sound effects are also hysterical.
But then more importantly, at the bottom, you can sign a petition challenging the ludicrous nature of that particular recommendation. So it is actually a very important message with a bit of humor, which is what we try to do here on our show.
Yeah, we sure do. We don't do it exactly the most conventional way, and I don't know that HRC would be our sponsor for this show, but we do it our way.
Hey, it takes all kinds.
So The Walking Dead had a gay kiss, and everybody got pissed off. The fans lost their mind.
Do you watch that show?
I do not watch it.
I don't either. And you know why?
Because we're gay.
What is it? I'm having a thing today, aren't I? It's like, this is, I think it's a little bit, I've been working on this boy in this barber show, and I've decided that he's a very excitable queen about things. And so I'm staying in that mindset a little bit, because this is the gayest I've sounded on the show in quite some time. I don't watch that show because the zombies don't walk very fast. And I just feel like it's hard to be motivated when they're not in a hurry.
It's just not thematically our thing either, don't you think?
Yeah, they all look gross.
Our good friend Matthew Scott Montgomery, I'm sure, loves that show, but there's some gays who like that shit, but I don't.
Well, I don't watch, but yes, the people on the Twitter and all across the internet, there were a good many fans who were just shocked and appalled.
Oh, upset.
At the homosexuality. Now, let's discuss. This is a show where on a regular basis people get eaten, stabbed in the face, shot in the face. There was a lesbian on season 4.
They had
no one
issue
was bothered by
Nobody
her at all.
cared about the lesbian.
That's often the case, let's be honest. But so many of the responses on Twitter I enjoyed. One gentleman, I like calling them gentlemen because it's ironic, said, "The Walking Dead went wrong when the two faggots started kissing." Another one said, "Please take faggots off The Walking Dead. WTF, excellent show, but no gays, please." Another said, "Gay guys on The Walking Dead just made the show value go down." And then another, "Really, Walking Dead, the one show that doesn't have faggots on, you got to bring 2 of them in."
Love that word.
Really disappointed. Well, I'm sure somebody in compiling this list just typed in The Walking Dead and faggots. I did it on Twitter too because it was like, oh, that's funny. You can search like that. It's a reminder that as much as we live in a little bit of a pink bubble because this is funny like this, but this is terrifying in person. And finally, this one's my personal favorite. Because I kind of agree. I have nothing against gays whatsoever, but Jesus Christ, can't I watch one show without gay people in it? That's a little fair because we're like the token on just about everything now. If you're not getting enough attention on your show, you just put in a gay for a week or 2.
Yeah, well.
People at least check it out.
All right, onward and forward.
Let's
go back to the South. Baton Rouge police chief apologizes for unconstitutional sodomy arrest. Some people were arrested for sodomy, and it has not been on the books for a very long time. So anti-sodomy laws were struck down by what is S? Oh, by the Supreme Court over 10 years ago. I was going to South Carolina. What did they have to do with Baton Rouge? Police Chief Carl Dabadie, I'd like to say
sounds good.
Carl Dabadie in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, just issued a memo to all officers telling them to stop enforcing the obsolete and unconstitutional law that prompted the recent arrest of 2 Louisiana men who were caught having sex in the back seat of a car in a park. Now, what's crazy about this is there were so many other things they could have arrested them for. I mean, I think it's pretty illegal for anybody, male and female, anybody, to be having sex in a public place, but they went for the sodomy, right?
Yes.
So he said, his comment or his quote, "To our knowledge, the sheriff's office was never contacted or told that the law was not enforceable or prosecuted." Isn't it their job, though, to know the law?
Uh-huh. I mean,
but nobody told them.
Y'all,
nobody told them.
It didn't happen a month ago. 10 years. It's been 10 years since Lawrence v. Texas was overturned. 10 years. Bless their stupid hearts.
So I guess they just like go, well, a checklist. Let's just do the one that we hate the most.
Right.
Let's go for the
Pick
sodomy,
the worst one.
the butt fuckers.
That's nasty.
Okay.
So they're gonna drop
well,
the charges.
that's what it is, John. John, you've got to stop looking appalled at me. I'm just gonna say what I think.
Well, it's just a permanent expression for the entire 51 to 4 minutes that we're here.
You think that's what our viewers or our listeners
yes!
are doing? They're like, ah!
Yes.
I cannot believe he said that.
Yes. Yes.
Well, our ratings keep climbing.
Yes. But so they may pursue trespassing charges against these guys. And this is my favorite part of the story. Last year, Louisiana lawmakers killed a bill that would have formally removed the unconstitutional law. So the Supreme Court overturned it 10 years ago. It's not valid. They can't enforce it, but they don't want to take it off the books. It's like
they just want to keep
symbolic
it there.
protest.
History. It's history.
Uh-huh. All right.
All right, so now we've got some diversity.
Flashing on.
Yeah.
This is so exciting. A lot, and this actually is genuinely is really exciting. Emoji, the little symbols that you can use on your phone to express yourself through symbols rather than words, have introduced a whole new line of diverse representation. They've introduced brand new set of new skin tones across many of the icons to allow more people to feel like they are reflecting themselves when they send an emoji. And they are also introducing same-sex families, 2 men with a kid, 2 men with 2 kids, 2 women with 2 kids. So they are embracing diversity. You know what my favorite part of this story is? That I didn't tell you this yet, so I could deliver it right now. They introduced a whole new colors of people, and so it represents everyone all the way up through Lego people. Because there is a bright yellow color that I don't know who they think that represents, but it is nothing. It must be for Lego people. So if you are a Lego person, you too are now represented in emoji.
I like the Lego Oscars at the Oscars.
I want one.
At least wrapping that circled back for there.
That's real
just
good.
for a second.
Oprah seemed so excited to get
kept
hers.
She had a big old Instagram going on.
Yes.
Hers. So, all right. Well, we traveling on. We have a Christian book writer who was banned. We have been always. We always mention and give the news on all these haters everywhere. But excuse me. But every now and then we have somebody who does believe, who is a Christian, and who's making a difference and changing the view that has been so traditional in the churches that you and I grew up with. That is still reflected in the state of Texas by us reading a lot of this news today, because I mean, you always have to go to that piece that it goes back to the church, all of these laws, I really believe. Okay, so Brandon Robertson lost his book deal of a year with Destiny Image due to his theological positions on same-sex marriage and his identification with the LGBT community. In reading this, I don't think he's gay. He is somebody who supports the LGBT community, but he got a deal as a 21-year-old senior based on his blog Reev Angelica. And the book was to be a collection of memoirs, essays that outlined the lessons of his spiritual journey. And so they found out that he was blogging and had been an advocate for the LGBT community. And now they have taken away his book deal. And I love his quote. He said, "Time and time again, I have found myself sitting across the table from evangelical mentors, leaders, and friends as they have explained that because of my perspectives on this single issue, I was no longer a part of that fold. That I could no longer be a part of my community or school or network because I believe that God blesses same-sex relationships. I find myself today feeling more heartbroken than ever at the state of evangelical Christianity, not because I lost a book deal, but rather because of the broader reality that this situation points to the marginalization and discrimination I taste today is only a sliver of what LGBTQ people face every day at the hands of Christians." So it's very, very eloquently said and making a difference. And
really important. And I think he represents, there LGBTQ people in the community, who still have strong faith relationships and want to be a part of churches. It's people like this within the communities that are changing. And the evangelical world is one of the most difficult and most resistant, like Southern Baptists, and then they're even further out there in some ways at times. That it's kids like this, who are strong, spiritually oriented people in their particular faith that want to continue to have these conversations, and then they're shutting it down because it doesn't fit with what their Christian booksellers want to purchase. So Brandon, I hope that he finishes that book. I hope that it is able to be published somewhere else, because I think there are a lot of people in his spiritual community who would greatly appreciate reading the thoughts of someone who has a strong faith and also is strongly supportive of our community.
There's a publisher in the South, I'm going to look him up, who did that book that I had a little chapter in, the Queer Southern Writers, Queer South, and I'm going to contact him and see. I think he would be interested in this.
That'd be great.
Yeah, maybe we could do something. I mean, and I don't know how to contact him, but I'm sure with social media we can figure that out.
Absolutely.
So tell us, this is such a good story. You brought this story to me. I saw it on your Facebook page. I love this letter.
There is a little girl named Maggie who, for Lent, she and each of her family members decided to give up or add something to their lives for the length of Lent. Maggie decided she wanted to write a letter every week to advocate for other people. This is the letter that Maggie wrote. Dear Congress, would you like it if someone wouldn't let you get married to a person you loved of your own gender? No. So why are you not letting people do that? That needs to change, and it needs to change now. Would you rather me send letters all year, or you listen the first time? Your choice. Sincerely, Maggie.
I think she may have a gay uncle or something who's taught her to be a little bit bitchy. I love Maggie.
I just think she's forthright, and
So-
it's that thing that children can do where like they just see like this is what it is, and why is there all this
You want me to
nonsense?
write you? You want me to just to harass you every single day?
I will, because I will. I
I
love
will.
that that's the like underlying
will,
threat.
yeah.
I will. I
I'll
will
do
send
it.
this every week. They apparently it went further on. In her school paper, she wrote that when she was 100, there was a list of things they wanted to achieve by the time they were 100, and the things she wanted to have done was a lot of things helping LGBT rights. The person she wanted to have met was President Obama, and the things that she wanted to have eaten was 100 cupcakes. Maggie, I want to be you when I grow up.
Oh, we love Maggie.
She is absolutely
And her
delightful.
her letter's gone very viral, so that's kind of cool.
It is. It's funny though, because when you simplify it
It's not
to the
easy.
world of the way that children look at the world, it really is that simple.
Yeah. It's like,
She touched my
I
heart.
said that many times where years ago, my daughter Carrie, when she was like 6 or 7 years old, and somebody in my family I was having conflict with, and I said, they don't like me because I'm gay. And she said, well, why wouldn't they like you because you're gay? Because you are gay. It was like she couldn't separate it.
Yeah.
So anyway, all right, next story. Scientists claim babies with both biological same-sex parents could be possible in 2 years. This is kind of crazy when I read this. I thought,
Yes.
wow. So researchers at Cambridge University and Israel's Weizmann Institute of Science have found that it is possible to create human egg and sperm cells from the stem cells in the skin of two adults. They claim that by using the same technique, same-sex couples could have children that are biologically theirs in as little as 2 years. And it's going to be real expensive.
Well, yeah, I'm sure it will be, but it's sort of an amazing, huge accomplishment feat because, of course, people make families in all kinds of ways, and they are all equally wonderful, whether through adoption or through foster care or through surrogacy. But the idea that the individuals that want to could truly make a child of both of the actual parents, in the way that a heterosexual couple can, to have that finally as one of the many choices that is open to same-sex couples is genuinely, truly exciting.
I think Stuart Miller's going to have, who was a guest on our show, they're going to have to add this to
their list of options. Now, this says 2 years. Realistically, it will be probably
Stuart
considerably
Bell.
longer
I'm sorry,
before it's genuinely widely available. But it'd be a really exciting thing.
Would you like to do this?
Yeah,
Emerson? You
absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, that is one of the options, like whether it's adoption or foster or whatever, but I'd love the idea of being able to...
You want kids, right?
Yes, that being able to make a child that is between me and my partner as one of the options that we have to choose from. I think like it finally truly evens the playing field. I think that's really exciting.
We're gonna have to. Our movies are gonna have to make some money.
I know,
man.
Lord. Well, I won't be having children for because I can't afford it. All two heterosexual teenagers need is a bottle of Boone's under the bleachers, but I need like $100,000. Right. So. All right, flashing on. So we give gay conservatives a really hard time on our show, deservedly so.
Yes, we do.
So every year, the Conservative Political Action Conference is one of the most high-profile conservative events of the year. It's big for Tea Party people. It's big for potential presidential candidates that are pandering, is the right word, to the extreme conservatives, and it is a huge event. The Log Cabin Republicans have every year attempted to co-sponsor the event in order to have a booth in the exhibition hall, and they were told no this year again. The ACU has rationalized the exclusion of gay rights groups on the grounds that they aren't sufficiently conservative, which is, bless their hearts, the poor Log Cabin Republicans, because they're not conservative enough for the conservatives, but they're way too conservative for people like us. So that is riding that fence has got to be a little painful.
I've written them letters. I call them the redheaded stepchild of the GOP.
But Gregory Angelo, the executive director of the Log Cabin Republicans, said that they asked the ACU basically, will you take our money in support of the conservative cause? And the answer was no. CPAC has a problem allowing any formal recognition for organizations affiliated with gay people. That is the only logical conclusion to come to. However, after putting out that statement, 2 days later, it was announced that Gregory would be a part of a panel called Putin's Russia, A New Cold War. So he will be speaking at the conference. I don't know that means that they actually get to have a booth, but he will be there and be involved. And so he said, and then he put out a new statement. After some fruitful conversations with the leadership, we would like to express regret if anyone associated with the American Conservative Union felt unfairly maligned. That was never our intention.
Why the fuck is he apologizing?
Like, first of all, you're a conservative.
Jesus.
It's a conservative event. You should complain if you don't get to be involved. I mean, I don't agree with what any of y'all think, but that's the way it should work. You should get to be there. So when they give you breadcrumbs, it's like you're taking the scraps from the floor underneath the table and saying, "Oh, thank you, sir."
Yeah, Gregory Angelo, you are pathetic. You are just pathetic with that statement.
Like,
Sorry.
Your response
I'm
should have
not
been
sorry.
good.
That is pathetic. That is really, really pathetic. To apologize. Come on.
Be like, you
Grow
sort of
some balls,
deserve that
asshole.
spot. You're super conservative. They should be including you. And once they finally do, the response should be good.
Yeah.
That's what I deserve.
That is awful. Okay, let's check in with Crazy.
Check it in with Crazy.
Cray. We got
Yes.
great
okay.
sound. I keep knocking your camera again.
I swear to God, Della's trying to kick me out of this movie.
I'm going to move over here, but I'm not quite. I'm going to be. That's okay, John. How's it? All right, we got Scott Lively is back in the news. If you'll remember Scott Lively, he was the one. He's up on charges for crimes against humanity in Uganda.
Yeah,
just a simple little thing. But he's not going to. That's not going to stop him. That's not going to stop him. So he is now. Let me just read the quote. First of all, I want you to notice, Emerson, how many big words he tries to put in this quote.
Yes.
I mean, I'm going to have a hard time reading it. I'm just a simple boy from Texas. This says, after months of global chaos, a hero will step up to the world stage in the end of the crisis. He's saying that we're going to have the Antichrist come aboard because of the gays. In the spiritual contest, he will be enacting a satanic plot to usurp the role and identity of the Messiah, wielding great military power. This self-aggrandizing human savior will force an end to the war, and it just goes on and on and on. I'm boring myself.
Well, what he says, he said, just the point that he's making is that we will have this big savior who will end discrimination, and he say, just sign this oath to reject and renounce all divisive and discriminatory beliefs and supremacist theologies. Well, that sounds real good to me, and that's his problem, is he's like, we have a divisive and discriminatory belief, and we should be able to keep it. And he said that the date on or around which this false Messiah would emerge is Yom Kippur, September 23rd, 2015.
He's got the date.
September 23rd, 2015. Y'all, that's coming up.
That's soon.
That's in like 6 or 7 months.
John,
put it on your calendar.
Would you send me an email with that date so I won't forget to get scared the
Everybody,
day before?
put a reminder in your phone right now, because
it's like, remember the Rapture where
Yes.
they had the billboards, they had the date.
Left behind.
Although the Bible says nobody knows the time or the place.
Well, Scott Lively does. He said, I don't think there is any question that the cultural celebration of gay marriage portends judgment from God. We should brace for serious judgment in the form of natural and or man-made disaster if the Supreme Court established sodomy as a basis for marriage under our Constitution.
They just love that word.
They do.
They love
I do too.
sodomite.
I love that word.
Ladies and gentlemen, Emerson Collins, a sodomite.
It conjures up such pleasant imagery for me. I'm sorry that it bothers them, but I just tickles my fun.
I hope that from now on, I would like that from now on when I do press, I want them to say
Del
Shores. Not. I kind of get irritated sometimes that they put gay director. It's always like they have to say gay first, and I'm very, very proud to be gay. But what
you want to put it second?
Well,
director gay.
I'm gonna say director. I'm a director. I'm a writer, and to start with it. But instead of gay, I just want to go sodomite.
A sodomite.
A sodomite.
Del Shores,
a sodomite. Don't you think that would be? People would read that article.
Oh my gosh. Wait, I want to do something out of order for a minute.
Okay.
If that's okay. Because
we're loose and goose.
We are
crazy today.
We actually have like a minute. So after your new show that we're about to talk about, your next one should be Del Shores, Assorted Sodomite.
Assorted Sodomite. That would be good.
So, but you have a brand new show. Let's talk about it for a minute.
Okay, can you put my poster up? Because James Franklin, who's a wonderful photographer, took this picture, and it was not the concept that I had for this show at all. And I got our good friend Ted Detweiler to go because he's got a great body. And my concept was I was going to be kind of peeking out behind him, and the name of the show is Singularly Sorted, which one of my fans on Facebook came up with sin in big O caps. And, it talks about my single life. You helped me compose today, and I'm really excited that I'm premiering this at the Rose Room on April the 17th, Friday night, back at the Rose Room.
So it's all about adventures in dating.
Yes, bad dates. And
they happen.
I'm hoping to have one good one to talk about before
That's not going to be an interesting story.
No,
when you have a good date, don't put it in the show.
No, there's some really, really funny ones, as you know, that are all true, nothing embellished. Leslie Jordan always says that he's never let the truth stand in the way of a good story, but I'm really trying to stick to the truth here, and I'm really excited about this. it's like, what happens? Oh, did I just knock you again?
Yes.
It's sort of, you know what? People are going to think, oh, there's an earthquake in California.
Yep. Just over here.
Just on Emerson.
Well, so that's going to be at S4 for the very first time on the 17th.
It's premiering there. I'm doing a little piece of it when I do the cruise in Singapore coming up, but I am doing the full show there.
And people in Dallas can get tickets where?
They can go to delshores.tix.com, and they are on sale right now as of moments ago. They just went on sale.
See, ladies and gentlemen, we do commercials on our show. We just did one for Dell, and if you are listening and you want to be a sponsor for the show, we will do a commercial for you. Hit us up at dellandemerson@gmail.com if you're interested in being a sponsor of the Dell and Emerson Show and reaching our 17,000 weekly listeners and over 20,000 downloads a month.
Yeah.
So... all right, well, we have 2 more quick stories. We do checking in with crazy is almost always about crazy conservatives, but to show that we are equal opportunity offenders here at the Dell and Emerson Show, a group of LGBT activists vandalized an ATM in New Zealand. Now, there's a bank called ANZ Bank that introduced colorful, what they called gay TMs in Sydney last year for gay Mardi Gras. They're also in Auckland for the Pride Festival in New Zealand this weekend. Well, this group, Queers Against Injustice, pink-washed. They threw a bunch of pink paint across the gay TM. They said pinkwashing describes the way that institutions co-opt LGBT struggles to distract from and disguise unethical behavior. We targeted the ATM first to draw attention to the commercialization of the Pride Festival. Okay, first of all, that isn't the bank's fault. All a bank does is deal with money. That's right. And there are some gay people who have money and they need to put it at a bank. And if a bank is willing to turn their gay ATM into a gay TM and make it all rainbow,
it was pretty. It was so pretty. You have the picture up, right? It's so pretty.
Some people have problem with businesses pandering to us. I love it.
I
love being
You're
pandered
right.
to.
These are crazy gays.
I think great. Make an important statement, but how that? Why? How? I can't. I'm just done. Like, that's just so much work at some point. Like, you can't live your whole life being that offended by everything. It's just exhausting.
And create a whole group for it.
No, they do other things. They didn't invent the group for this particular thing.
Well, no, but it's this sort of thing.
Well,
no.
I think fight injustice. That's great. Just fight real injustice.
Real injustice.
I get it. Pride is commercial. You're not going to fix that with a bucket of pink paint.
Don't go after our allies.
Right.
That's
you're
what
not.
Basically. And what's gay in sports ball?
And finally, really quickly, what's gay in sports ball? The Dancing with the Stars cast was just announced, and Michael Sam is going to be on Dancing with the Stars.
I'm so excited about
that. I
feel
feel like that bodes really well for him. I feel like that's really exciting. Obviously, it means he's done with his football career, which I'm sure is sad for some people. Maybe. But I will actually watch him on this.
Well, that's not the only reason I will watch. As you know, I was so excited to read this story because you've got Suzanne Summers, who I love, and Patti LaBelle.
Which I'm convinced half the reason Michael Sam said yes is just so he could be close to Patti LaBelle, and I understand that.
I totally get it. Totally get it. But my favorite is Army vet Noah Galloway, who's missing a left arm above his elbow and a left leg above his knee. John, I live for amputees on reality shows. I loved that season so much when Paul McCartney's ex-wife was on there, and that I just wanted that leg to fly off and go across the floor. So I will be watching more for Noah Galloway than for Michael Sams. Just saying.
Absolutely. Well, and he is an Army vet, and he does have a prosthetic leg. I don't know that he wears a prosthetic arm. In a lot of the photos, he was on the cover of Men's Fitness, I believe, and so I don't know if he uses that. So it'll be really interesting to see how he negotiates the dancing. And yes, it will tickle that particularly perverse funny bone of yours.
I would love it.
In the process.
So that's our show.
That is.
We
you
sailed
guys.
through this. Yeah, thank you so much for listening every week. We really do appreciate you
for
being
those
there for us.
Who've been asking, the website is still being updated. For those of you who listen to the download on iTunes, the backlog is slowly getting up. We know that that's frustrating for some of you, and we appreciate your patience with us and UBN Radio.
But we love that you're complaining because that means you like us.
And that you're listening.
You really like us.
We appreciate y'all being out there. All right, we will see you next week. Stick around for On Air with Tony Sweet, and after that, The Ann Walker Show.
And that's our show. Goodbye.
Bye, y'all.